Just
all right, you are, all right. We're live. Go ahead.
Joe, could you explain to us the phenomenon of cover memories in alien abduction? For example, I've heard about memory loops, different layers of cover memories, and the reasons why we think they use them, and also how is it possible to break the cover memory or penetrate it? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay. Well, cover memories have always been an interesting thing, and we're going to touch on a few things here. We'll start off with, the old days when you used to see deers and owls and hawks and stuff on your windowsills, and these were the way they used to do cover memories, where they would give you something as they would pick you up or set you down. We call it a cover memory, but those were really more like trigger memories. Those were really to let people know something had happened. Wow, you're riding your bicycle and you see this beautiful stag standing on the side of the road, and he's just standing there as you ride on by him, and he's still, right as you go past him, and you look back, he's still standing there. Well, we all know deers don't do that. Deers are scared of humans. They don't care if you see a 12-year-old or 50-year-old riding a bicycle. They're going to get the bleep out of the way. They're not going to stand there and look at you. Same thing with owls and stuff like that. If one perches on your windowsill and you walk up to the windowsill, odds are it's going to fly away. It's not going to stand there and look at you. So these were common to hear about 1995. We used to hear this all the time. And ET and the government was really sloppy about putting memories in your head back then. And they were pretty easy to break. A decent hypnotherapist could usually break those kind of cover memories without too much work. But these days it's much different. The aliens have gotten much more sophisticated these days. Loop memories in themselves are interesting. I mean, when you can physically take someone's brain and scan it, see their memories, and then use those memories to make them think they were doing something, is a phenomenal technology to start off with. And we give many examples for this. It's just a strange thing. Like my favorite one, the lady with the hot dog stand, which I have to bring up. It's one of those things. The lady's driving to work every morning. She stops at the hot dog stand every morning. She gets a hot dog. One morning to work, she gets a hot dog. She gets home that afternoon. She realizes, wait a minute, the hot dog stand hasn't been open for 60 days. So how did she get that hot dog? And she fully physically remembers the taste, the smell, the whole 9 yards. But she knows the hot dog stand is closed. So how did she stop that morning and get that hot dog from that stand when it was closed? Well, see, E.T. looped the memory there, but E.T. didn't know, because E.T. doesn't watch our daily lives, that the hot dog stand no longer exists. So E.T. just used the memory, probably a memory they've used before, but it got them busted. Because then she realized, okay.
In this case, they probably looped the last 30 days, meaning, because for the past 30 days, they probably had looped the memory then.
Yeah, they just took a memory that was common and something they had probably, like I said, used before, and then looped it in the last 30 days. They just looped it in her head, and away it went. And and probably because they used it, probably because it was a memory that stood out. She really liked these hot dogs. I mean, she always used to make a big deal when she told me about these hot dogs. So it was a memory that really stood out, and it was a memory that made her feel good. And so I think that's one of the reasons they chose it. It's likely that you would question that memory, and she wouldn't have. If it wouldn't have been for the fact the place wasn't closed, she wouldn't have questioned it. And it was like I was telling you about the guy that delivers from here to Pensacola and back. He stops at Whataburger every day. He stopped that day for lunch on his way home to get a Whataburger. He got home. He ate his Whataburger there. It was fantastic. He had a good hamburger. He got back in his truck. He go back to New Orleans. I think the Whataburger's in Gulfport. And and then the next day he pulls in the Whataburger, and he was telling the guy how exceptionally good the hamburger was that day, and the guy told him, well, no, we were closed. We got a new floor. The truck driver was getting irate with the guy, saying, oh, no, I was here. I ate the hamburger. You weren't closed. You don't know what you're talking about. You must not have been here. Guy went and got the manager. The manager came in and said, no, we were closed, sir. And he said, you're a regular customer here. You know we used to have orange floors. And the guy looked down, and they now had these nice, pretty tan ceramic floors, or it's a little off color, but still, these nice new ceramic floors. Okay, what's up with that? Now, this guy stopped there for once, so they fully physically remember stopping there and eating lunch. He told me what he got. Well, I think it was a Whataburger with cheese, some fries, and a malt, chocolate malt, I think he said. Now, he ate his lunch and got in his rig and drove back to New Orleans. And bam, but that's not what happened. Somewhere along the line, they picked him up around Pensacola, and they dropped him back in New Orleans, and they looped the entire drive. from Pensacola to New Orleans, everything was looped. It was a completely utter false memory. And, you know, there's other occasions where people get these memories and, you know, they'll be driving a particular road, you know, where they go to work and all. And this is a dangerous thing for ET to do when you drive on interstate a lot. Because, you know, a lot of times on interstate you'll see a lot of the same kind of trucks and the same kind of stuff. But you'll see them in different places at different times. So if you start looping it too much, they're liable to realize that, you know, they've seen this truck at this town on this date and not on this date, it was somewhere else. So, you know, or this car or something oddball like a truck carrying some kind of NASA stuff or something for the military, or like the other day, you know, there was a train that ran down a track full of tanks and stuff like that. So they got to be careful on how they loop it to make sure it's a day that can be easily repeatable without any standing events in it. I guess they can view the memory while they're doing it, but it was like what we were talking about. So what do they do? Take the 18-wheeler with them? Suck it up into the ship, you know, go, land and drive it in, whatever. But apparently they have to be doing something because, you know, they're taking them to Pensacola, putting them back in New Orleans. And, you know, from Pensacola to New Orleans is about a 3.5-hour drive. Now, we did a regression session with this gentleman. Breaking false memories is not as hard as most people think. Breaking loop memories is much harder. Your brain knows false memories are false. They you know, they're like, oh, no, that couldn't have happened, or this couldn't have happened, or that couldn't have happened. So your subconscious fights harder to break it. But in these cases, your subconscious is like, no, this is a real memory. This is a full real memory. There's no need to break it. So it makes it much harder to even convince the subconscious to get to the point where you can break it. And the way they embed these memories, you know, it's hard. The brain, you know, it's like you put somebody under, tell me what happened on July 15th, 2012. You're driving home from Pensacola, tell me what happened. Okay, I got in my rig, and I drove up, you know, Interstate 110 to Interstate 10. I got on Interstate 10, and I just got on Interstate and was driving. Drove through Mobile, drove through Pascagoula, drove through Ocean Springs, drove through Biloxi, Gulfport, drove through Slidell, New Orleans, I'm home. Okay, basically that's it. Stopped in Gulfport, had a burger. Okay, well, we know the Stopped in Gulfport burger is not real. So at that point, I'm like, well, we know the Whataburger was closed that day. So did you go anywhere else for lunch? And then the subconscious starts to search. It's like, well, did I? Because, yes, it was closed, so I had to go somewhere else. So even then, though, the subconscious is fighting you the whole time because it still thinks this is a real memory because all the rest of the memory is unquestionable because it was just a drive along Interstate 10. So you really have to start pushing, and you really are going to have to get down pretty deep. You're not going to break these loop memories in a level 5 or level 6 hypnosis. You're going to have to get down, you know, 10, 15, 20 levels deep if you're going to really have any hope on getting through these memories. And then there's another little sneaky, tricky little thing that ET likes to do. You break the loop memory, and sometimes you will find a cover memory behind the looped memory. Not a real memory, a cover memory.
So multi-layer cover memory there, huh?
So now you've gotten through the looped memory, but you know when you're listening to this new memory, something's not quite right. So you take the person down another level or 2 or 3, and you ask them to look around, see what they can find, and they repeat the memory. You take them down another couple of things, and you ask them to tell you about the memory, and then bam, they remember they're on board the ship and something's going on. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, we never use words like extraterrestrial or aliens or spaceships or any of that.
In regression.
In regression, the person has to come to those conclusions on their own. It is not for the hypnotherapist or the researcher to introduce any of those words. It's hard. Trust me, it's hard. Even I slip from time to time. And it is hard. You know, sticking to that narrow path when you know some of the answers you're expecting to hear is tough. But it's the only way to do it because everything is video and audio taped, everything. So we want people to see, you know, how this was done, why this was done, and why we think if a memory is fake or real. It's an important thing. But you know, you break the looped memory, you break the cover memory, and then you get the real memory. But most hypnotherapists are not going to be that good Frankly, they're not. And if they've never worked with an alien contactee before, the odds are that they're not going to be able to get you to break those memories because they don't even know what they're looking for.
Yeah. Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so Joe has hypnotized me multiple times. It was wonderful, but something, I used to always think that I was seeing these really, really gorgeous beings that would visit me. Really amazing, like tall, white skin, slick back, black hair, and like big blue eyes, or, you know, these just angelic, godly beings, right? And in hypnosis, okay, we only got to a few cases, but in hypnosis, one of these beings, for example, and I knew, it's funny because I knew when I was with him, I knew that, I even remember telling him, no, you don't look like that. I know you don't look like that. Well, in hypnosis, this gorgeous being that was in front of me holding my hand, it's like we broke the cover memory, and it was as if it was a hologram fizzling right in front of my eyes, and phew, and there I saw the being that was behind it. So they also seem to use cover memories to make themselves look really like gorgeous, angelic humans, right?
Oh, they do. They do. They implant a lot of things that makes you feel good, that makes you, one, not question the experience, and two, not fear the experience. Somewhere along the line, in the last 2 decades, ETs has come to the realization that it's better not to let us freak out as much. They seem to be working more along with memories that make people want to be part of this or want to feel part of this. In the old days, it was much different. Those memories were aggressive and scary, but it doesn't seem to be that way anymore. Most of them now seem to be geared towards helping a contactee to live with this, basically. I really do think ET would like if all the contactees on the planet would wake up at one time, but I think they also realize it's not going to happen because most humans just can't deal with this. It's just too much to incorporate. You know, regular everyday life is tough. You know, I mean, it's tough every day. But have to be alien life and then incorporate alien abduction into it, it's just nightmare. So, you know, how do you do it? And then raise your kids and your career and everything else while you're still dealing with alien contact. Most people just can't do it. So I think a lot of the memories are geared to make you feel better. I think a lot of the memories are geared so you don't remember. You know, so that you don't question the memory is what I'm saying.
Or so that it's not an uncomfortable memory. Real quick, I had an experience where my cover memory was starting to go away because it was as if it was a film, you know, camera film starting to melt. And I realized I was on the cosmic doctor's appointment table, as I like to call it, and I immediately, powerfully, mentally projected to the beings, guys, I'm waking up from this. You got to knock me out. You got to knock me out. I'm not supposed to feel this. I'm not supposed to see this. Immediately, I found myself back laying in my bed, and I was looking around. I was like, "Oh, good," and but I couldn't move anything under my my waist. I couldn't move, and then for like 10 minutes, I even grabbed my phone. But then I fell asleep, and I realized the next day what had happened is they had just made me think that I was back in my room.
Yeah, and those kind of experiences are common.
I was really on the table being, you know, worked on, but they made me think I'm in my room. So, and I asked them, knock me out. That's the way they did it. Cover memory.
And I think they do let you choose a lot like that, too, as well. But I see we're about at the end of this one.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Joe. That was very, very interesting, and it's a really an important subject. I think we should make an entire show on this one, 2-hour show. So, thanks.
Yeah, I agree.